attraction to Missouri for me was the land and how close it was. Because, you know, I grew up in Arlington, it's all suburbia. I would go to the parks. I always loved nature and I went camping, but it was isolated events rather than life going on in the country. You know, being able to live out in nature and experience it. And we romanticized a lot about not being a part of this society, you know, having an alternative lifestyle that didn't feed into the beast. Well, also, we took field trips with my intellectual history group. We'd go camping so we could have Walden Woods type experiences. My friend John Carroll, who's the park director, who was very much of a nature freak, and so was Rocky. He ended up becoming a nature photographer. And then Rocky told me about Jeannie. Her reputation preceded her.
I knew no rules or regulations. Everything was up for grabs as far as I was concerned. Lynn was 18 and she had just arrived in Columbia, Missouri to go to school. She was wearing clogs. Never seen anybody wear clogs before. Clogs and bell bottoms, a baggy sweater, and her hair was wild and free, standing way out. She's got a lot of soul. And she loves life. She does.
One of my first jobs was right along here on the left-hand side at the Hojo's. There's the Hojo's. This has all changed a lot. All this new highway. At first, I really felt like a duck out of water. But then I started meeting some people and became, you know, really engaged in, you know, building a new community kind of thing here. Then when I had to run away from home, the only place I wanted to go was back here because I had, you know, my bosom buddies. I joined SDS with Rocky, and we were all radical, and, you know, the Vietnam War was going on, and, you know, we had like comrades in arms walking like blocks, you know. We got into student demonstrations, so there was a lot of excitement about that. We were like feeding the hippies in town. And then in that brick building up there on the right-hand side, we started a community cooperative radio station and a food co-op, and yeah, man, we organized. It was really, we were activists. We baked bread in the pizza ovens. Remember that?
I got really good at bread. When we lived with Kathy Wilheimer.
Oh, I know where it was.
In here.
It was this street.
Willis.
It was Willis.
It was Willis.
We'll take a left on Willis. Check it out, because I think that was the house. I think it might have been this house right here. We lived on the top floor. 101?
101, I think this was it.
This was it, 101. We lived on the top floor apartment. Yep, that was it. And then Dave lived in this little building.
Yeah, here on Bass.
Yeah. That's Stevens College right there, this whole campus. And then all the rest of this is University of Missouri. It was a big campus. We did a lot of walking. Here's Paquin Street. Now this was the street where all the hippies lived. This was our hood. And it's been developed now. Like, look at this high-rise went in.
Yeah.
But like all the hippie poor students lived here. This blue house, the old man who lived here, I guess it was his house, was in my drawers shuffling through my underwear.
I think that's when you came over to live with me, with Kathy. It was some kind of
I said I just couldn't.
desperate situation.
I just couldn't stand it. And when Judy first came to Columbia and lived with John, they lived in this house.
They did. That's where they lived.
Yeah. And then right where this building is now, there was a tiny, teeny little house.
That's the one we went in when we were tripping, and we didn't even live there anymore. It we were tripping. That's all we knew. So, and the door was open, so we went in and sat down on somebody's bed and started listening to music. And the guy came in. Are you so-and-so's friends? No, we just used to live here.
We used to live here.
We're tripping. Can we listen to your stereo? Sure.
Windmill Ridge was on the ridge adjacent to Rainbow Ridge, and Basil Oak was down on the river bottom. So that those three communes interacted quite a bit. They had lots of family feasting and playing music and sharing, energy together. They'd help each other with big tasks. The guys would all pitch in and go and dig manure for 2 days. So this is the barn in the bottomland of Rainbow Ridge. And it was here when I was here. It hasn't been torn down. He hasn't lost it. So it was almost as ramshackle then as it is now. So he's maintained it really well. Rick was, I think, a senior when I was a freshman.
Yeah, the image that will never leave my mind was when we took over the student union.
That was 1968.
Yeah, my first memory of you was that. And I was impressed. I mean, she had like dreads, out to here. He said, well, if that's the kind of leadership you people want, you can have it.
Horseshit, the offensive review. Censorship. I think it was when he lived up north, or west, a little west.
Either I am really not observant or strange things occasionally happen around here. Probably both.
Probably both.
I sort of like the concept of strange things happening. I think that's a good thing.
If everything was the same, there would be no surprises. It would be completely dull.
It would be dull.
It would be that bureaucratic world. It's high.
And that's a wetlands now. There's 1,000 acres out there. That's a place for migratory birds to land, and
Nice.
people shoot at them. And
Oh, they do?
part of it. There's part of it that's set aside as a refuge, as if the birds would know the difference. But yeah, they allow waterfowl hunting.
Well, how far down is it? Is it real steep?
It's pretty steep and not that far. It's a lot steeper when you come back up.
Okay.
Yeah, it gives you something to hold on.
Exactly. Oh, I love these bluffs.
And that's the wetlands with all the... There's pelicans hanging out there right now, white pelicans.
Oh, I love pelicans.
They're so cool. They're the
Aren't
neatest
they?
bird. Of course, they did create some of these bluffs by blasting rock for the railroad track. So some of these are created bluffs, but these rocks have been here a real long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be the bottom of the ocean.
Yep. They have chritinoids. You can see like little skeletons.
Plates go, up it goes. It's astounding, really.
Isn't it? I love thinking like way long ago when the earth was being formed, and I love thinking about gamma rays. See, this is the flood area ahead. lays a lot of silt down. It's a strong river. It's constantly reforming. A river shapes itself, but obviously man has engineered this road, but it's pretty close. But there's Cooper's Landing. We get dirty through too much civilization. When we touch nature, we get clean. But here comes Basil Oak. We'll go along the other side. We'll walk across the bridge here. At this bridge, there was a terrible rainstorm. The river flooded up and comes up these gullies, and it just really rips things up. Well, one of Judy's cats got caught in a trap. I guess it was a beaver trap, which are just brutal.
Yeah.
And the poor thing was crying. And Judy heard it in the night in the thrashing rainstorm. And she went out in the rainstorm. And she went down to the bridge and she saw the cat, just mangled in this bear trap. But she had to climb down on the slimy roots with the raging water in the middle of the night with pouring down rain and get the cat. There were a lot of old abandoned farms that people had moved off, or their parents died and they didn't live there, and they lived in town, so they'd rent all these out to college students.
This is how I met Ronnie. He was from Phoenix, and his older brother lived here in Columbia. And he was just here visiting his brother and getting ready to drive back to Phoenix. And I was 5 years older. He was only 18. He just turned 18, just graduated from high school. And I was 23, already been through college, and I was hanging around here. I was living around here with all these hippies. And his brother knew a lot of the same people. And through the grapevine, his brother found out that I was looking for a ride out to Phoenix. And the person that I wanted to see in Phoenix, that was all gone. By the time I got there, Ron, at his home with his mother, said, I'm moving back to Columbia right now. Packed up his things. And we drove back here. And the first night we got back, this is where we stayed. And when he woke up, he got up and he stood by that window and he looked out at the river, and the sight of the river and the sun coming through, he thought he had died and he was in heaven.
Winter all over again, dark and cold over again. Though there's beauty in snow, I know, and it will all melt away, I know. It's winter all over again, daffodils hiding again. I was sure.
There's a lot of cedar in Missouri too. You don't have as much in Massachusetts. So this is the land on the way to Judy's land. Now the park is coming up here on the right. So the Devil's Ice Box is a sinkhole that has a really interesting stone foundation, stone that's crumpled down in as it sank. And it's very cool down there. So in the summer, it's a great place to go because the cool air wafts up out of the ground. This is Judy's neighborhood.
And now we take in.
Yeah, now we take in. Look, the spring grass.
You look like you're 18. Both of you.
Hi.
What is this supposed to be?
Well,
here?
3 of us turned
60
60 this year.
They provide the
Although I
methane.
think there's a little bit of stretching in
Their
there.
butts are in the center, so they provide the methane for the hot air balloon that supports the whole thing.
What do you mean?
So there's a lot of psychological things going on in the sculpture that the
Yes, it is.
stars.
You're at the party.
That is for sure.
I
Octagon House now.
It dried
It's
up.
still out there, the Octagon House.
Where Susan Newstead lived, the octagonal shaped house.
What's a road that went by?
Yeah, Myers Gate,
Yeah.
Myers Lane. I've got the map.
Oh, good, good.
I was trying to find.
So this was Hearst John's land that he donated?
Yeah.
Cool. So this is where we used to live.
Yeah,
It's now conservation land?
yeah.
Hallelujah!
Keep it wild,
I'm
keep
just
it
telling
wild.
you, I'm just telling you.
And I passed down the moment to
Bob Dyer was kind of a bohemian professor at University of Missouri.
He wrote a lot about the river, and he was also known as the song teller. And these songs told the history of Missouri. He was a very beautiful man. I gave him a massage the night before he died.
Oh,
I
I'm so
felt
glad you went down
it was
there.
cosmic. It was cosmic. He was so graceful, really beautiful.
in the eyes of the people I
He showed us the way.
in the eyes of the people I drew. On a day like today, in the heat of this late summer weather, there's a haze in the trees, sound of the bees in the clover. There's a hawk in the sky, there's a shine on the wide river's water. And I feel deep inside something wanting to stay here forever. But the seasons keep changing, and the days just keep running away. And forever's a gift you're forever giving away. On a day like today, in the last golden days of October, there's a chill in the air, the light haze of frost on the clover. There's a fire in the trees, there's a sound in the breeze like a whisper. And I feel deep inside something wanting to stay forever. But the seasons keep changing, and the days just keep running away. And forever's a gift you're forever giving away. On a day like today, in the heart of a long, bitter winter, there's a moon in the sky, making stars on the snow in the clover. As I sit by the fire, in the heat of the slow dying ember, I can feel deep inside something wanting to stay here forever. But the seasons keep changing, and the days just keep running away. And forever's a gift you're forever giving away. It's a morning in spring, and the dew on the jewelweed still glistens. And I almost can hear all the life being born when I listen. I walk down by the spring and I drink from the clear flowing water. And I feel deep inside something wanting to stay here forever. But the seasons keep changing, and the days just keep running away. And forever's a gift you're forever giving away. And forever's a gift